Beech is a very, very unique species in the UK to use as bonsai. Generally regarded as hedging along with hornbeams, and the reason why is you get a lot of thick plush growth which grows out pretty easily, and it's also pretty hardy for that hedging material. But you know what? We face a number of challenges when we deal with beech if we're looking to put it in as a bonsai. And many of you will have seen in previous videos, certainly with me last year, I talked about this advanced pruning technique, which just happened 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've also discussed with you my reservations and concerns about doing air layers on beech. Again, I've heard they can be difficult. But you know what? I don't know what the truth is. A number of you sent me some messages saying, crack on, do it, have a go. And I've come to a decision. But to hear about that decision, of course, you need to keep watching. But I think it's going to be worthwhile. Hi, yeah, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat. The sun is streaming down, and yes, we're right at the beginning of June, end of May, and you know what that means for a number of us bonsai enthusiasts or bonsai artists. We're looking to air layer stuff. But you know what? I've said time and time again, before you go for an air layer, research your species. Make sure you've got all your kit ready, and make sure you know exactly why and where you're going to air layer. Primarily, we're going to be looking at beech, which, as I've said in the intro, I think is going to be a difficult species. Probably not as difficult as oak, but still I think the challenge is going to be there. So if I know that's such a challenge, why would I take the risk? I think first of all, what we really need to do, just to get a bit more context, let's go back probably 3 or 4 weeks when first of all I had to have a look at these and do a bit of pruning. And the reason why I'm showing this is because beech is very, very unique. So this is the first of the beech, and actually when you look at it overall, ignoring this, you think this has the potential to be such a great tree. And I think I said last year, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't look more closely when I was selecting this when I dug it up in 2019, because this root structure, you know, the rock's just hiding it. Well, it's a tough one. I know some people like, and I keep saying I quite like these exposed roots, but certainly not in this case. This tree really needs a nice trunk somewhere there, probably. Hence, I want to do an air layer, and that means probably removing that branch there. Now this one, I've already yesterday gone around and opened up the leaves and basically cut 4 of the 6 off. And we're getting close, because what I did realise, and this is what you'll have to learn about beech, is if you're doing this, you need to keep watching your tree over several days. It had started opening up, and I've just noticed now, this one here, it's opened up a little bit more. I can do the same process. So let's get this out of the way and show you exactly what this advanced technique is. First of all, actually, we'll show you where I have already done it. Here, if you have a look, 1, 2, and there's actually a little third one. So I've removed 3 of the 4 leaves. Again here, there's 3 of the 4 there. In fact, I've still actually got, no, that's gone there. I cut it there. I should remove that extra one just there. And if you have a look at the stalk, there's a stalk just there. And that's removed, leaving just those 2. Now, if we have a look at this one here, you can clearly see we've got a set of leaves there, there's 2 there, 4 there, and in fact 6. It's more than that, so I want to remove, they've got the growing tip there, that's the first set I would consider. Then the second set are here, and they're the ones I'm going to remove. That's just leaving these 2 here. And the reason for doing that, as you can see, it's just got these 2 leaves here, is if we track further back, what you'll hopefully see is here, we've got a bud point there and a bud point there. I actually want to try and encourage the tree to open those buds up, and so create ramification further back. Now when I did this last year, I noticed that the tree did indeed, probably at least 50% of the time, activate those buds a little bit further back to try and produce that extra set of leaves the tree believes it needs. As I said to you also, I haven't always taken 4 leaves off. I might only take 2 leaves off. And again, a lot of that is related to the actual strength of the tree itself. Sometimes it only seems to be producing 4 visible leaf pairs. And as I say, you can be quite brutal about it when you open up, just so you can see there's 2 pairs left. And if you look, you've definitely got here the central shoot, which is the first pair, and then we've got the second leaf there, or the third leaf of the next one. Same here, pairs there and there. Probably not as easy to see, but yeah, so I removed 4 of the 6. The next thing we've got to look at with this is, am I also looking to do an air layer on it? And it was actually One Red Army who sent me a message on the video I did last year, and said that actually beech air layers, you know, pretty successfully. Seemed very, very optimistic about it. He talked about sphagnum moss and rooting hormone power, and some rooting hormone powder. So that's what I'll be trying, and we'll be seeing that probably in another 3 weeks time, maybe sort of mid to end May is when I like to do the air layers. And just in case you think, no, I love it, let's take that rock away and really show you the bone truth of this very, very ugly tree. You know, yeah, I don't like it at all. So let's just put it back there for now. But otherwise, this structure up here is developing really, really well. I've had these guy wires on right through probably 6-7 months now. I'm just going to go around now and continue to reduce the leaf sizes down to just 2 pairs. There's another one here I missed, so let's cut that. I did that process here, and already different places up here I've already started to get an early second flush. Now if you don't do it, does that get in the way? No, of course not. Often you'll get that flush a lot later in the year, and often it's not as useful in terms of establishing it for new ramification. It's interesting when you look actually where I didn't do it, how we get this long extensions, and of course the option I've got now is to literally cut back to the 2 leaves that I want. But at this time of the year, I know from last year having done this, that will prompt some buds to open up and perhaps new shoots, but it never comes out anywhere near what manageable for what you want to use. It always says pretty juvenile in my experience, and that's why I go for this early pruning technique. So that brings us back to the first week in June, and I think clearly you can see from what you saw there, the reasoning for this one is straightforward. No matter how much you argue that you like these sort of root systems, for me, it is never ever going to pass any further than, well, it's not going to be the bonsai that I want, and no matter how big and how much ramification I've started to develop on it, I've got to make a decision. Am I willing to risk the life of this tree to try and perhaps establish a much more solid and fundamentally decent looking root base? Or am I going to continue to have it like this and never ever be happy with it? And I think that's probably the first question that a lot of you need to ask yourself. Are you happy with the tree as it is, or has it reached the point where you can't go any further with it? Now if you like that, then for a beech I probably wouldn't risk it. I don't like it. I've stared at this probably for 5 years now, and there's nothing. I've tried doing lots of things. You've seen me, I put guy wires trying to bring this down, and all I'm seeing is, gee, wouldn't that look like a great tree perhaps if we had a lovely flat root system coming out from here. I also had an interesting suggestion from I think it was Trevor Fields, who suggested, why don't I do a raft? And certainly I've had success with rafts with junipers, and I looked at it and I was trying to work out, probably if you did the raft down this side, so you have all this as branches, but I think we're probably a bit too far along for my liking. I actually like the potential tree structure we have there with the branches, so thanks for that suggestion. And I do know there were a couple of others who said, Do you know what? Beech, not a problem. So we're going to go for it. What are the tools we're going to need? Well, come on. Everyone's done airlayers, but let's quickly run through them, shall we? We need a knife that's been sharpened and preferably antiseptic, and I use the camellia oil from European Bonsai. We need some plastic and also need some gin pliers and some cutters, and that will refer to actually securing this. And to secure this, which is going to be a bag, I've already got 2 bits of wire ready for top and bottom. We'll also need some concave cutters because I've got a branch to remove, and just a pair of shears, probably to lighten up some of the upper growth after I put the air layer on. The only other thing I need is I use kitchen foil, and I use that in order to stop algae growing on the inside of the bag, and it also helps with heat retention. Now I'm sure there's something else, but I can't quite... Oh! In this case I'm using a root growth gel, rooting hormone. No adverts, but this has come from European Bonsai, and it's got IBA 0.25%, so we're going to give that a go. And we need a brush and a Pepper the Pig pot, because everyone knows Pepper the Pig. There's still something I've forgotten. Of course, I know what it is. We need to have some what I call washed sphagnum moss. Now there's normally different varieties of sphagnum. You've got the long grain. Sounds like rice, doesn't it? We've got long grain sphagnum and short grain sphagnum, and ideally what we're looking is for something that's nice and aerated, so that when those young tender roots start coming out, they can wrap themselves with a heart's delight around this fine stuff. And the good thing about sphagnum, it retains moisture, so we need some of that as well. And we don't want to be scrimping on it either. No little weeny baggy squeezed tight. Now clearly when I look at the tree, everything says to you this is going to be the front, and it's just trying to find an angle where we can make this acceptable, this sort of horseshoe or toilet U-bend. And actually I couldn't find anywhere. And the other thing I realised is that looking at it is that although this screams out front, I've got a branch back here that if we removed, I think a front could work much better, where we actually don't highlight the fact that there's a cleft there. We actually have it at a slight angle so that it actually looks thicker up here, and technically it would look like inverse swelling, I suppose, but I think that could work well. So straight away, although there's a back branch on here, I'm actually looking at it and going, I can see a much better tree this side with, if you look at the direction it's coming, it's pointing that way. And yes, I know we can change the potting angle, but actually all these branches are coming towards us, which generally for bonsai design is normally a big thumbs up. And if I remove that, it immediately gives me more than one option for a front. So let's get rid of that. See, I look at just a slight angle. Let's have a look where you are. Just so that maybe is opening up a little bit, not so far that we've got that, but just off a little bit. Got all this lovely branching, and I can cut some of this back by all means, reduce the top, reduce this. I think this is positive, and all I've got to decide is how much of this do I want. When now earlier in the video I suggested that what I might try and do is take the air layer so it's up here, so we can get this width and have this almost as the base, as though it's two separate trunks. I'm not convinced. I could remove this branch here and go that way and shorten these off, but I'm actually inclined to actually take it lower down. So with that in mind, really all I've got to decide is how long I want that. Where I probably want the roots to come from about here, so it still means that potentially that branch could still get removed. If I go too long down, I'm probably right now going to take it, cut it between there and there, with a view that we might get roots coming out from this area here. This is not an ideal example. It's the reason why I'm using it as a trial for a beech. So first of all, I've got my knife. I've already sharpened it on my oiled whetstone, and then put some bonsai camellia oil on it, which has got antibacterial, fungicidal, insect repellent, all the right biz. I now need to cut right through the bark through the cambium until I get to the heartwood or the softwood, and then peel off a ring. We've all done air layers before. I'll do the ring space, and the thickness I'm going to do is 1.5 times the thickness of the trunk. So that trunk is that much. So I'm probably going to be doing that much of a bite through. So I think already I can see that I'm going to start it here. Take your time, and with your sharp knife go around and create that lovely thing that we're going to peel off in a minute. Key here, the cut edge at the top is a lot more important than the bottom, because that's where you're going to be looking to get the root growth happening from. And hopefully what will happen is I should be able to lift this off a little bit. Okay, well, we'll have a look at that. And I'm used to maples, and I'm used to ginkgo, which you've seen me do, and certainly we did not get that sort of chipping. Now, I've certainly gone as deep as I think I can in terms of getting through the bark, but what it looks like I've got here is the that's quite interesting, that is. I don't know what this could be. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I don't actually know the answer. So what we'll do is we'll continue to remove this layer, and it's certainly not coming off like a sleeve, but as you know, I don't hold back from showing you how it is. I've never seen how someone who's done a beech comes out and what that internal skin's like. So anyway, I'm going to keep pulling that off. That is a very interesting. Gosh. Yeah, write down in the comments. So yeah, there was nothing I could do about that on camera. My shock and surprise was clear to see by everyone. I certainly didn't expect to see this different texture on the beech. It's all the way round, and sort of investigating it, when I look at the actual the pieces that have come off, they have come off like that's the bark, and there's just a little sort of 2 or 3 millimeter what I would think is probably the cambium. So although it didn't come off in a big ring, I'm going to assume that I've got the bark and the cambium off. I think I'm quite reassured that that's enough. Now, there was someone who said to me, look, do you know what you do? Best way to do an air layer, and I have heard this done before, was I've opened it up like that, and he says, well, basically leave it now for 3 or 4 weeks, and this will give time for that to callus up really well, and then you whack the sphagnum moss on. And I'm sure that suggestion is spot on. I haven't seen it done, I've heard of it, and it makes me nervous. So, you know, hands up, if it works, great. Please put down in the comments. I'd love to know and see some pictures of the process. I'm now going to use the Root Growth Pro Root Hormone Gel. Now, when I did this with Adam on the ginkgo, great video by the way, he did loads of Q&As for me about the future of Notion Bonsai, tips and hints for anyone who's looking to start on YouTube, loads of stuff about products and things. It wasn't just about ginkgos. It's a cracking episode. I think in that one we actually used his IBA powder. But you know what? Let's try this, and I'm going to paint it all around the top area here, which is where we expect roots to come from. A nice liberal coat. And basically all this acts, the IBA acts as a synthetic oxygen in many ways, and what we're looking for is to get the cells to turn away from shoot cells and buds and all that into root producing cells. I'm going to say again, the reason I'm willing to do it on this tree is I do not see a future for it as a bonsai. The only other option, whack it in the garden. Then I've got my plastic well filled with the sphagnum. I've got to be careful, I've got guy wires there. I could remove the guy wires, but I still want them to pull the branches down. and ideally I could have another pair of hands here. So I'll do the best I can. Now, a number of people have also suggested that I could actually use a plant pot and actually put a plant pot on there, and in this instance that may have worked really well actually. But here we go. So let's get our baggie in nicely there. Loads and loads of moss. And right now what I want to do is just make sure I've got a nice circumference spread of it. I want to get the bottom, the base really tight so that this baggie doesn't slip down. And that's the reason why we make sure we've got all our materials already pre-cut. So I've got my wire. I wrap my wire around there now. And then all we need to do is lightly and evenly make sure we've got moss coverage all the way around that sort of, certainly that inch above the cut site, because that's where all those roots are going to be hopefully coming from. Don't pack it down really tight. You want it to be nice and aerated so those little feeder roots can get out there and have some fun. What we don't want that is to become so full of water that everything in there just rots. Okay, and hopefully what we're going to see is a load of roots developing in that bag. And the last thing I do, got my tin foil. Just held in place. Another piece of wire, just loosely. And that is the Airlayer done. Yep, I know loads of people have done Airlayers, but I tell you what, it was interesting to see just exactly what that structure of the trunk or the wood was beneath the bark. And although it came off happily in chips, it certainly didn't come off in a ring. Now I don't know whether that could relate to the age of the tree or any other number of things. I'd be very interested to know, and in fact, probably going to find out with the next one, but I have a feeling it's going to be exactly the same. So then the only thing left to do after that, if I wasn't doing any more Airlayers, I'd be certainly looking to use a stone and oil, clean that off, and then, as I say, a bit of bonsai camellia oil to do some nice antibacterial and to make it smell nice, because this one's got a bit of a eucalyptus and lemon smell to it. In terms of time scale, well, for this one I'm preparing for it to take up to 2 years. I have heard that sort of suggestions that it is one that can take a while for the roots to form. The other good thing about having the tin foil is, you know, as we get nearer sort of six to 8 weeks, I'll be able to pull it off, have a look, and start looking for those telltale signs of those thin white roots. If we see them, then we know we can probably get a separation this year, but hey, if not, we'll be moving into next year. And I think that's the reason why this isn't going to be a time-lapse much more. I really wanted to see exactly what this looks like. This is giving you an opportunity to see what beech looks like. But really, anything else I'm going to do? Actually, I'll have a look underneath it, because I've noticed some friends have returned. If you look on the underside of this, hopefully what you can see here, well, hopefully you don't want to see this, is all that white powder. And that is all indications of an infestation of aphids. And probably it'll be on a lot of them. It's on the bottom of this one as well. And also I noticed a stickiness. Again, the honeydew from the aphid. This needs a good spray. And in terms of storage, this is going to be stored down by the bottom where the greenhouse is, against near the wall. It means it's going to get probably early morning sun, and then generally it's going to be in the shade. Now I want to keep a reasonable amount of leaves on here, because I actually want the solar panels to be seeking those roots to be formed, and we need the solar panels for that. But what I am going to do is just reduce some of the unnecessary growth a little bit. There's no reason why I can't do a little bit of pruning on it, which is what I'm doing now. Look at that, got some nice tall growth here. Let's cut all these right back. Got these great big branches here. Let's cut these right back. upward stuff, don't want that. And again with beech, often, like hornbeam, a lot of shoots and that will grow upwards. You know, there's no reason why you can't wire those. But for the sake of this, I'm not going to waste too much effort. And I don't know whether or not the roots are going to form. And do you know what? It did occur to me, I've had some subscriber photos piling up over the last 5-6 weeks. So should we shoot into Subscribers Corner and have a little look and see what you guys are doing? So there's some absolutely incredible bonsai and development trees going on there, and it's fantastic to see all these pictures coming in. Please, if you want to send some more in, just make sure if you ever send me a picture, let me know if for whatever reason you don't want me to show it and it's just for information. Otherwise, have a look in the description. It's got my email address and how you can get them to me. And as I say, normally within about 5 to 6 weeks, and I've received a good pile, then I'll normally put together a little special subscribed edition. And why is this here? Well, again, this has been an ongoing project that I've done from a massive big Chinese elm. I think it's going to end up being a little semi-cascade. But to see what I do with it, you need to keep watching, because I think this might be the next video, bar one, because we might actually have the March of the Oak Bonsai Ents coming. So anyway, from Xavier, that's a cracking video to watch if you want to know about this tree here. All the best, happy bonsai, and God bless. Cheers.